My brain has blocked out a lot of this campaign, but for a bit of context to the important parts, I was playing a satyr girl around 20, and Creep was playing a Loxodon. I knew there was a reason I hated those freaking elephants. I played my character as really sweet and naive, wanting her to be an innocent deer girl who was incredibly friendly and passionate about her friends. Creep thought our characters had some interesting chemistry and asked if it was okay if we went a romance route. I thought it was a cute dynamic at first. Good, I would regret that thought, and agreed to it. At the time, I knew Creep was the oldest of the group, and he wasn't my closest friend or anything, but I was willing to have the relationship because they were fictional characters. Our character's relationship doesn't mean he's actually interested, right? Right? Well, apparently Creep didn't get the message. After 2 sessions, he slid into my DMs to ask if I was interested in dating him. I should say, I was 16. He's in his mid-20s. Hey, Crispy number 8's tearing out his eyes again. Should I take over?
Yeah, take over. Hurry.
Okay, cool. Got it. Okay, let's see what we got. I should have informed the rest of the group, but I shrugged it off. A week later, I found out he flirted and got into a relationship with... Hey, man, can I borrow that knife? Yeah, cool, thanks. Well, that was the worst intro I think we've ever gotten on this channel. If that was your goal, congratulations. I'm just gonna go phone the FBI real quick, and in the meantime, we can roll the intro and get to the rest of the video. I've DM'd a few Dungeons & Dragons games over the years, but at the time of this story, it had been well over 5 years since I DM'd a 5th edition game. A real-life friend of my husband, who plays the fighter, and who happens to also be the person whom I DM'd my last game for, was interested in starting up the hobby again after so many years. He was playing the Bard, and contacted us about starting up a game with his wife, the Rogue. My brother, the Warlock, was also starting a game at the same time, and we decided to double up on campaigns and have a lot of role-playing fun. We planned on having the game over the weekend. Warlock's every other Saturday, and mine every Sunday. It was a lot of D&D to jump into so quickly, but we were all excited to get started. I homebrewed my world, with the only rule being that there was no influence from outside planes of existence. I didn't want to drag in all the planar stuff right away, as I was easing myself back into DMing, which is very smart. So many DMs get bogged down by the cosmic lore of the greater demons that inhabit the outer. That's a surefire way for you to spend a lot of time homebrewing and not a lot of time actually running your game. Focus on, your starting town first. It turns out if you exempt extra dimensional stuff in your world, things like bags of holding don't work properly, or you could just have it be like a little pocket plane thing, but whatever. So I just decided there wouldn't be bags of holding in the game. I could be wrong about that ruling, but I don't think it's a terrible thing to exclude. Bard didn't understand the assignment during character creation apparently. He made himself a Sportle, a Spores Druid Turtle, and I loved the concept so much I homebrewed him a shell he could grow various mushrooms with different effects on. This would allow him to find mushrooms throughout the world and incorporate them into his terrarium on his back. The character was quickly scrapped by the Bard when he found out he couldn't use his terrarium with some kind of myconid shenanigan and a bag of holding to do something. He never told me what. He was trying to, in effect, change my entire world, quote-unquote, as a surprise? He was gonna Last of Us your world, wasn't he? Eventually, he settled on a Warforged Artificer Bard combo, stating that he was visited by a person that came through a portal and gave him a special item he would later then use in the campaign to do something special. I argued for half a second that's impossible for someone to come through a portal in this world, but gave up since this did not seem worth the headache. Meanwhile, we held the first session of Warlock's campaign, and it started with Fighter, my husband, nearly getting gored to death in the first session, as his friendly character attempted to say hello to a Minotaur. Eventually, Rogue and Bard showed up and defeated the rowdy bull. To all our horror, especially that of Rogue, Bard proceeded to ask about dismembering the Minotaur. Warlock made him make medicine checks, and with a natural 20, Bard described how he... Wait! He then placed the Minotaur's pee-pee in one of his extra sacks. Stunned, we just moved on, not really wanting to know why he was interested in taking such a thing as a trophy. We went back to the town to collect our gold for the job, and well done. We woke up the next morning to Bard running around the town collecting piss buckets from the locals.
Why are you covered in piss?
The DM said I could.
Warlock, I think because he was just curious about where this was going, allowed Bard to continue collecting these things. We watched as he put the pee-pee in the urine and tanned it. He then proudly proclaimed to everyone he's made a bull pee-pee whip, which is totally a real thing and something people did in the past. And no, I am setting a boundary right here. I am not looking that up. You can't make me look that up. Huh. Oh my god. He's actually right. I guess the threat of being whipped by a pee-pee was allegedly enough to deter thieves of sheep and cattle. Allegedly. Anyway, after that, we started my next session the following day. In my world, the group ended up taking out a cultist base. Bard wandered around the perimeter of the building while Rogue, Fighter, and Warlock took on well twice their number. Bard joined them just in time to take the killing blow to the leader and then proceed to strip the whole house of all of its liquor. The party had captured one of the cultists, trying to learn more about the overall organization. After asking her a few basic questions, the party left her tied up as they wanted to rest for the rest of the evening. They wanted to get some spell slots back so they could potentially, zone of truth her and get more accurate information. While everyone slept, Bard came into the room with the cultist and, without any questions, just stabbed her in the gut. At long last, we have captured one of these vile cultists. Perhaps we can get the information we need, and, if we're lucky, rehabilitate her to live a better and more fruitful life. Okay, never mind. Maybe we can use Speak with Dead to... Wait, give me a sec. I want to test my penis whip on her. Yo, what? Her cries woke Rogue, who happened to have one level of Druid at the time, thankfully, and Rogue ran in to heal the cultist and berate Bard. Fighter came down running, insisting Bard leave, and a huge party PvP ensued. After the session, everyone was willing to accept Bard's excuse of my programming wouldn't allow me to let someone that took part in such vile acts live, and we were going to just shrug it off and move on. However, Bard began insisting, out of character, that he had done nothing wrong, and this is the way all prisoners should be handled in such situations in the military. He began to argue his point so much that he made everyone, including his own wife, really mad at him. The party eventually learned that this cultist was being manipulated and had a form of mind control on her. When they freed her of the magic, she got mad about what she'd been forced to do and vowed to get even with the cult. She then gave them a lot of information and ended up joining the party as a sidekick cleric. That lasted until the end of the campaign. Bard did not last through the end of the campaign. After a few more sessions with both Warlocks and my games, we couldn't handle it anymore and asked him to leave. While nothing else he did stood out enough to warrant its own story, it was all the little things that made everyone have just a bad time. Lots of murder hobo behavior, actively making encounters harder, role-playing a lot of petty humor for long periods of time, and enforcing the... Whoa! Whoa! Dude, one of these things is not like the other. Being an in-game murder hobo, being unoptimized in combat, oh, and being an advocate for slavery and torture. This dude's a straight-up villain. It just made all our encounters with him so unpleasant that we couldn't play the game with him any longer. After he left, I invited an online friend of Fighter and I to take his place in the party. The entire campaign lasted over 2 years, and just finished up this spring. I've also made a second campaign, have plans of running a Curse of Strahd game over the summer. So all in all, I'm glad he asked us to start playing again. He encouraged me to DM, which I'm grateful for, but I don't think I'll be playing with him ever again. Yeah, this person sounds obnoxious to say the least, and it gets more obnoxious when you realize the whole social trap aspect of this story. Remember, this person also has their partner in the game, so obviously you might be hesitant to kick this person out because you don't want to lose half your party. But at the same time, if there are enough issues stacking up, it's worth talking about, because some of these problems, they are big deals to say the least. I'm glad that you didn't have to deal with the social trap and all the stuff that could arise from that, but at the same time, yeah, I would not want to have this guy in my game ever at all. I'm okay with some dark stuff in my campaign. God knows, if you watch the 10th Tomb, you know that. But having dark stuff that makes people uncomfortable like this, I think I'd rather not. I thought I could share this little horror story of mine from my first and only real tabletop role-playing game experience. It's not too horrible or anything, but it did lead me to not wanting to play or hear about this stuff for years to come, which makes it sound really horrible, so... For some context, this happened in 2012. I was 12, they, them, and lived in a town where there was a significant nerd community, with many people enjoying playing Dungeons & Dragons and other flavors of tabletop role-playing game. Friends of mine had previously told me of their epic adventures as players, and there were also some dungeon masters whom I had seen boast about their sadism and viciousness during campaigns. I thought this was a normal feature at the time, as players always seem to enjoy these DMs and find their antics funny. Now, I don't know if there was some selection bias at play, or if I'm just unlucky, but I would find out the hard way that the vicious part may have been a tad too much for me. So one day, I heard there would be a one-shot introduction to tabletop role-playing games for newbies session at my local library. It was going to be held and game mastered by a relative of a childhood friend of mine, and the other players were all friends too. Many of them had some experience, so I felt reassured and more confident than usual. I have social anxiety and was being bullied at school at the time, so this was rare. This was a perfect opportunity for me to finally get some of that sweet experience, and my excitement was through the roof. I arrived, we all sit down at the table. There were around 10 people, including the Game Master, whom I'll call Colt, because he liked to pull the trigger, as you'll soon find out. The Game Master is around 20 years old, and the rest of us are around 12. Bro, I struggled in Minecraft when I was 12. I think all the numbers on a character sheet would make my brain blow up. Anyone else play TTRPGs as a kid? Because I certainly didn't. He explained some of the basics of tabletop role-playing games, and we were told to roughly define our characters' personalities on a piece of blank paper. No stats, no equipment. I can't remember what game we were playing, or if it was even a game at all, or if there were any rules at all, to be honest. The premise, as I remember it, goes like this. We're a bunch of people in a sci-fi world, and we're all part of a spaceship crew who had an initial mission but couldn't carry it through, since there were dangerous creatures trying to infiltrate our ship and kill us all. Colt drew out the maps on a whiteboard, and we have an idea of the layout of the ship and its different rooms, and we can all go and do what we please. We mostly run away and try to keep the creatures at bay while operating the ship at the same time. It doesn't seem very structured now that I see what other campaigns look like, but I thoroughly enjoyed the beginning of the session. Now for the event that would change the whole dynamic for me, half an hour in it suddenly happens. A terrible event! We're all stuck in a room, and the creatures have us surrounded. The only way for us to survive, says Colt, is if we have a distraction to safely escape from the control room. In other terms, we must sacrifice a member of our group for the others to get to safety. Colt seems enthralled, exhibiting that sadist GM grin. Oh, where have I seen that before? Oh, great. Do I have the sadist GM grin too?
Are you for real? Crispy!
I swear I don't do stuff like this though, I promise. At this point, we're all deciding who has to die for the greater good. I'm a bit nervous. I'm trying to make my case like the others, as I'm the most socially anxious and paranoid. I kind of start freaking out, pleading the others to not sacrifice me, but it must be someone. There's no other way. And since the others are all close friends, of course, it ends up being me and my character. The distinction isn't really clear between the two, since we barely have any character outside the flimsy descriptions that Colt barely let us read out loud. They throw my character to the creatures to distract them, get to safety, and just like that, I have been successfully sacrificed by the other players, and they get to continue playing. I just sit there trying to get reception on my phone for the next 2.5 hours. See, that's why I have Geometry Dash on my phone. No Wi-Fi needed. Emergency entertainment, baby. What? Wait, I'll get back to the video in a second. No, this does not mean I have ADHD! No more words are exchanged, no explanation as to why Colt would do this. They just straight up ignored me until everyone left. I don't know if this happened because there were too many players, but I was pissed. I swore I'd never play with them again, and a long time had to pass before I could be exposed to any tabletop role-playing game-related things without having all the resentment from that time built up. After that, every time I told the story, other people were baffled and told me that was a horrendous first experience, which really helped me get out of that GMs must be sadistic and no fun perception. I did see hope for a Fate Forge campaign one time since then, but the curse of scheduling prevented us from ever really getting it started. Now I'm just glad I can chill and entertain the hope of having a better experience someday. And I hope the same thing. Look, I love being a bit of a sadistic game master. I run a really hard campaign, but the reason I do that is to make my game thrilling and enjoyable. It's not because I want to see my players suffer. I mean, I kinda do, but like, the point is not the suffering. The point is the overcoming of the suffering. I get way more joy from seeing my party overcome something insane and win. Forcing them into this lose-lose situation sucks. And on top of that, forcing a brand new person to get absolutely sacrificed and then not play the game for the rest of the time, that sucks even more. There's nothing worse than just sitting around doing nothing while other people have fun. It just shows to Goya that playing with kids is a skill, playing with new players is a skill, and being a game master in general is a skill, and this GM has none of those skills. This guy just sucks. Not just for kids, but I think for everyone in general. This is less a horror story, but more so one that I just vehemently avoided. Pretty short, so it's a good opener? So it was like 3 to 5 weeks ago now, I got a random Discord message from someone in the LFG server saying they had a game. Red flag number 1 already. Usually game ads are posted on the server, but whatever. I ask when and what time, and he says it's still being decided, so I say sure, and ask where it's gonna be, setting, yada yada yada, and he sends me an invite to a Discord server for the game, and says we'll do an interview soon, but it's mostly mage casters, and we're using GURPS as the system. So I try to look around and get a feel for the setting, and well, the first thing I see is name, age, religion, date of birth, place of residence, orientation, more alignment, and bio. A little passive-aggressive, sure, but combined with some of the stuff you're about to see, it's a sign of bad stuff to come. Hey, is there anything you want to know about my character before the game starts? Oh yeah, thanks for asking. Obviously, I need your character's race, class, name and age are good. I also want to know if you're one of those disgusting, gross, awful gays! Oh, I also need your character's, like, location in the world lore. I want to know where you're from, basically. Hey, what was that middle part? Oh, like your character's age and name? No. The longer, more aggressive thing. Oh, yeah, no, I just want to make sure that I don't get any of those gross, disgusting queers in my game. They ruin everything they touch. They just want to indoctrinate more of their own kind through Dungeons and Dragons. Why does that keep happening? Also, more importantly, lower social classes must always act with indifference to the higher classes. The son of a lord can give an order to someone of a peasant background, whether he is in his lands or not, whether it is someone he's just met or known for years, and it would be expected that the peasant would obey. It's even a crime, petite treason, for a commoner to show disrespect for a noble, even from a relatively low noble family. By this time, there are certain rights for commoners. However, a noble may only beat a commoner. Wait, what? Talking all sophisticated and aristocratic and elitist, and then suddenly, oh my darling, I may just absolutely abuse your poor ass. A noble may only beat a commoner with impunity if it's one of his peasants or servants. That's great. You can't beat someone if they're from another territory, or much less a city dweller who is free. And even if a peasant is one's own serf, it is forbidden to kill them. Only a lord with crown authority can sentence commoners to death. Oh, and don't call people peasants. It is an offensive term by this point, and is only used as an insult. Unless intending insult, use husbandman. Call rich commoners good man. If it's in the city, call people laborers. Call wealthy city dwellers citizens. Call only knights sir. Call earls, marquises, and other similar high noble titles lord. Use sir for the first name, as in Sir William. Use master for last names, like Master Adonis. Any woman married to a noble you call milady. You could also say, for example, Lady Hypatia, or Lady Ruthven, or Lady Hearth. In addition, women have 0 rights. That's one of the things, right? That has to be in there. Right. A king, duke, queen, prince, princess, duke, duchess, or archbishop, or cardinal can all be addressed as your grace. The oldest living son of a knight is referred to as esquire, like William Adonis Esquire. You could also refer to someone by their office, Lord Chancellor. Needless to say, I was mildly concerned. I should have backed out here and now, especially after seeing orientation in quotation marks. And I'm gay and black, so this will come in later. But I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. This could be fun to roleplay and yada yada yada. Interview day comes around. He immediately starts with the icebreaker of playing... What is that? Oh! I thought that was just like a movie trope. People actually do that? That's crazy. I give half answers since I'm closeted and was already getting vibes, but still it was a yikes. But we move on and he says, as Dungeon Master, I have the right to add whatever I want into the game. Before asking if I had any questions, stuff I didn't want to see, etc., which should have been red flag number 3, 4. So I ask about the magic system and how that would work, the general setting, and then ask how we feel about the gays, since, you know, I am one. I ask about it in setting, though since I like giving myself room to escape, and he says it's gonna be the death penalty if I'm discovered. I just breeze past that, thinking, oh, the setting is in, like, the 1500s. Yeah, sure, why not? It could be fun to roleplay. I clearly need to stop justifying the red flags I keep getting beaten over the head with. After that, I make up an excuse to leave and start dreading the session 0. A few days go by, and I get a link to a different one-shot server. This is the one-shot server? Oh, is it the same system? Yeah, and oh, by the way, you're all Portuguese slave traders in 1690. Yeah, might not be able to join that one. Oh, well, this may not be the group for you. Yeah, probably not. Okay, please leave the server. The School of Night one? Yeah. Oh, alright, were we slave traders in that one too, or? Nope. I'm confused. You're not a good fit for us. You failed the vetting process. Oh no! I failed the vetting process for the slave trader game. Oh, what will I ever? I'm playing the world's smallest violin. Right. Alright, understandable. Have a good day. Moral of the story, trust your guts, kiddos. If the vibes are off, leave. Also, love your videos. Binging them was what made me finally start going through LFG to look for games. I'm in 4 currently, but that's good enough for me, I'd say. They're all very queer friendly and I'm having a great time. Historical accuracy is really cool. There are some aspects of it that are interesting and make games a lot more fun to play in if you want to go for that theme. But we also see historical accuracy being used as an excuse to just exclude people from all sorts of fantasy games. Look, if these guys want to run their super grim historical game, that's, you know, that's their thing. I can't stop them. And that's good for them. Hope they have a great time. But based on what I'm seeing here, a lot of people have been failing this guy's quote-unquote vetting process because frankly, a lot of people would rather not play in a game like this. Like, come on, man. Is it really gonna kill you to have a setting where gay people aren't gonna be executed on the spot? Maybe it would, but in any case, it doesn't matter. You don't need to play with these people. Let them do their thing. You go off, have a good time. You don't need them. I've been a dungeon master ever since I started playing RPGs a little less than a decade ago. So when I found a guy in my class at university who was willing to be a dungeon master, I was more than excited. He and I had been friends long before we discovered our mutual love of Dungeons & Dragons. When he found out that we both enjoyed the hobby, he quickly planned to run a session. He said he was an experienced DM and I believed him.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
I then started brainstorming my character for the session. I play a gnome artificer who is going to be an armorer. Since he was planning to run Lost Mines of Phandelver, I asked if I could make my artificer the local blacksmith in Phandalin. He said it was alright. I gave him my backstory, which in short stated that my gnome was a family man who fell in love with a human who sadly outlived him. All of his adopted children now have their own lives, but he enjoys being part of the town and providing for it. He tried to be a good neighbor and contribute to Phandalin's growth. Well, that didn't last too long. He skipped the first part of the adventure and went straight into the town. The first scene was mine. My neighbor was knocking on my door after I started the fire for my forge. She was yelling about me making too much noise. I don't have the highest charisma, but I tried to calm her down and offer her breakfast. However, she just continued to yell at me, saying something about treating her as if she was poor. And then she left. Ah yes, every D&D player's favorite fantasy villain. The unbeatable Karen. Yeah!
Excuse me?
I thought she was just some crazy neighbor, but nope, the whole town apparently hated me because I made too much noise. The smoke from the forge was annoying, or things like that. I got really sad because I wanted my character to be the village's good neighbor, but it was clear the DM did not really read the backstory I sent him. To make a long story short, my character then died at the goblin camp. Wait, so DM? Hey, what's up? Hey, yeah, so my backstory has been made completely irrelevant. Everyone from my hometown hates me. My character has no drive to continue with this adventure. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I know you're figuring something out, right? Who needs their established backstory and character history to make something good, right? Cool. Is there a cliff nearby? Oh yeah, there's one like 2 meters that way. Hey! Oh no! I'm falling off the cliff! I have to make a new character now. So I made a brand new character, a newcomer to Phandalin, and this is where the real horror begins. Meet Garsh, a druid lizard folk who is trying to remedy the mistakes of his past. In this case, his backstory is not really important, so I'll go straight to the bad part. There was an episode where all the characters were shopping after a traveling merchant group arrived in town. My character wanted to buy some spell components for the spell Summon Beast, one of which was a fishtail. So I went to the fishmonger and asked for a good-looking fish, meaning a colorful fish. Apparently my DM chose the absolute worst way to interpret that phrase. The fishmonger literally accused my character of being a zoophile? What is that? I was like, what? No, of course I'm not. I just want a colorful fish. The conversation devolved into him accusing me of being a predator for fish and wanting to have intimate content with a fish. I failed a charisma check, and that was it. He refused to sell me fish, and I went on my way. Some minutes later, our party reunited, and apparently the rumor was that my character was attracted to fish, and it had spread all over town. I was rightly mad with the dungeon master and told him I was not comfortable with that. He just said, well, don't say things a person attracted to animals would say then. Not long after that, the campaign fell apart. We played some games again with me as the dungeon master, but he always played female characters that were overtly flirty. I asked him why he played them that way, and he responded with, well, if they have great personalities, why not use them? Referring to his character's boobs. Thankfully, I stopped playing with him, and now I'm the president of my own college TTRPG club, and a forever dungeon master. Congratulations, Mr. President. I look forward to your political contributions to the hobby. But seriously, this is a dungeon master who takes the joke and just runs it a little bit too far. In my home game, we do have a lot of raunchy humor. I say stuff to my friends I would definitely not be okay with saying on camera, but all of my friends understand the in-jokes, right? We're all comfortable with it. These are jokes for fun. We're trying to have fun. We're not trying to put each other down. This is just humor that makes people uncomfortable, which, I mean, yeah, could work, but this DM clearly does not have the talent. Combine that with clearly not giving a crap about your backstory, and yeah, I think it's best that you start your own D&D club, hopefully one where this kind of thing doesn't happen. Hey, that's a wrap. If you guys enjoyed this, you might enjoy the last video we did on some crazy homophobe DM. It's linked in the cards. Lots of fun skits in that one. But before you go, please do leave a like and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, you can go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment, "That's just racist," to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them directly to us. There's an email down in the description down below. Send your stories our way for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell. Whoa!